In the last 12 months, we've sold $2.3 million of video games on Amazon, and we've done it all out of this basement. And today, I want to walk you guys through an actual day in my life and talk about some of the systems and routines that make those sales possible in such a small space with such a small team. This video is sponsored by Shopify. I usually start my days somewhere between 8 and 8:30 here in my upstairs office. This is where I tackle all tasks related to email or YouTube stuff or our online video game buyback website, 1UP, which is in process of getting rebranded to being called Quick Flips, which is a big thing that I'm tackling this month. But I'm honestly not much of a morning routine guy. Before I land in this office, I pretty much just get dressed and brush my teeth and then start working. This time of day is really nice because both my employees don't arrive until 8:30, so I have a little bit of time to get through email and Slack and random admin tasks that only I can do. Today there are no major issues to address, which is really nice. We're just having some ongoing conversations about the implications of the rebranding to Quick Flips and all of the text and logos and domain stuff that's going to have to be in place before we actually make that change active. Once all that's done, usually around 9 o'clock, I'll head to the basement, which if it's a Tuesday or Friday like it is today, can actually be a little bit chaotic. So what happens every Tuesday and Friday is we check our PO box, which means that we're going to end up with usually 20 to 30 packages of Quick Flips batches that our users have sent us, which is really cool and a little bit chaotic because we're trying to get through batches like this as efficiently as we possibly can so that we can get people paid quickly, but also identify any potential issues with the batch, like a missing game or something that's not working or dead batteries or things like that. And this specific batch behind me is actually one that Spencer has been going through. Spencer, what are you seeing as you're looking through that thing?
Well, this batch is from one of our goated users, Mike, who has been sending to us since, I think, the beginning of the buy list. So we know him and his stuff very well. He's a great guy. And most of his stuff, I mean, almost all of his stuff is in like perfect condition. I don't even have to check this condition for most of it because he does his own resurfacing and he does proper resurfacing. So it's a mirror finish when he sends it in. So I'm just gonna kind of make sure that all the stuff is there. But I'm not worried about condition with somebody like Mike.
Yeah, one of the coolest things about having a long-term program like Quick Flips is that we do have kind of a relationship with a lot of our long-term submitters, and we'll recognize people who send in repeated batches. And so for guys like Mike, we really don't have to be as thorough or as picky because we've probably done like tens of thousands of dollars of business already. Now, some of you guys who have been watching the channel a long time may remember my video from last year about selling $3 million worth of video games out of this basement, but that basement actually looked a good bit different than this one does because we were operating with about half of the space that we currently are. It was from basically that pole to this wall up until literally last month. And in order to expand it, I unfortunately did have to sacrifice the game room, but it's been absolutely worth it because we now, with this entire side of the basement, have almost double the space that we used to, and it's been absolutely fantastic. But if you didn't see that video and you're curious what the basement looked like before this, check out this sponsorship that I filmed about a month ago. Now folks, whether you've been in business for years like we have, or you're just starting out, Shopify can help you take your business to the next level. Shopify is an all-in-one commerce platform that allows anyone to easily start a business. Whether you're a big video game store and can take advantage of Shopify's online integrated point of sale system, or you're just starting out selling your own stuff, Shopify is there to make the process of starting a business headache-free. Last year, I dropped our first ever wholesale lots on our Shopify store, and it went super well. It took Spencer and I like 20 minutes to learn how to list on Shopify, and we were able to sell thousands of dollars worth of wholesale lots in our first day in business. They have over 8,000 apps in their app store to level up your business, and they have the best converting checkout process in the world to ensure your sales are as high as they can be. To start your free trial of Shopify, head to shopify.com/PhoenixResale or hit the link in the description. That's shopify.com/PhoenixResale. Now, when we first launched Quick Flips last February, we were spending about $50K per month with users sending us batches like this. But get this, last month, we spent $177,000. So it's been growing like crazy, and needless to say, the expansion of the basement was very much necessary. And I wanted to let you guys know sort of the general philosophy, the strategy behind this place is to have inventory like this come in the door and go through a general clockwise rotation around the whole space. From here, the intake table, to being sorted into various like resurfacing bins or prepping bins, games that need to be cleaned, to the prepping station right here that has all of the necessary supplies that you might need to prep a game for sale, to our testing station, and then our now double the number of shelves that we have for sorting games from PS2 to PS3 to GameCube and Wii over here, to cartridge, our big cartridge wall, and now our shelves of handhelds back there. And then we also doubled the number of listing stations that we have in the basement, which is super convenient, because not only does Spencer have a mega desk here now, but also our newest employee, Keaton, has had room over here in this corner to absolutely crush it, which, by the way, shout out to them. Last week, we just beat our weekly listing record of over $100,000 in games listed and sent off to Amazon in 1 week, which just absolutely blows my mind. And then finally ending over here with the shipping station, also with all the boxes and supplies that you might need just within arm's reach. Okay, before we get back into the rest of all the intake over there, this is one other really cool thing I wanted to show you guys. This is a brand new calendaring system that Spanky just implemented in the last couple weeks or so, because with all of our expansions and stuff, we've had to look into hiring more, so this system's going to be super helpful. By the way, the reason that his screens look so weird is this man loves to constantly be on night mode on his desktop. I still have not figured out why, but
it's good for your eyes.
I spent the rest of the morning checking in all our inbound inventory. I think the biggest reason we've seen such a drastic spike in submissions the last year is I've been pretty relentless about coming up with improvements to make to our site, from changing our model from subscription to completely free, to changing our condition guidelines to be less harsh with deductions, to just this month adding the ability for people to sell consoles and controllers. I've pretty obsessively asked myself every month, what sucks about this? And I put all my energy into fixing those things. We still have a long way to go to make Quick Flips what I know it can be, but I'm really happy with the progress we've made so far. If you're looking to get fair, transparent offers for your video games, you can check out our price offers on our vastly improved new domain, myquickflips.com. But right now, I'm getting a rumbly in my tumbly, so I think I'm gonna head up for lunch. Okay, so I know I told you guys before that I'm not really a big routines guy, and that's only half true, because I actually am a big believer in the value of simplicity and reducing the number of decisions that I have to make every day. And so because of that, I've actually eaten the exact same thing for lunch every day for about the past 5 years. And that go-to lunch is a kale and turkey wrap with avocado and, get this, Chick-fil-A sauce. I'll throw that all together, plop myself down with some chips and salsa in front of a YouTube videos, and I will tell you folks, I feel like a literal king for the next 20 minutes. All right, so now that lunch is done, it's time to crack a little afternoon Celsius, which I've actually been trying not to drink caffeine 2 days in a row these days, so that every time I do drink it, I get the positive effects of it, but I don't develop a dependency on it and start to get headaches. So we'll see how long I'm actually able to stick to that. One aspect of productivity that I've been more interested in recently is like calendaring and to-do list software. This is something that for most of my career, I never really messed with, because as like a one-man operation, it wasn't really necessary. But as I've taken on more projects and hired more people onto the team, it's become more and more practical. This is my actual calendar right here, my work calendar, which you can see is pretty clear, and that's kind of the way that I like it. Although my current to-do list software is actually far more sophisticated. It's called Folding Paper. And this is it right here. I'll just literally write out Monday through Friday and put, anytime something pops into my head that I think, oh, I really need to do that, I'll write it and assign it to a specific day, which helps with organization a little bit. And I actually used to keep this entire list just in the to-do list app on my phone, which was fine. But a couple months ago, I was listening to a podcast where a couple business owners were talking about how a lot of entrepreneurs have this vague sense of constantly falling behind that just resonated with me so much. I think it's partly because part of the nature of owning a business is that as soon as you solve problems, new problems come up. And one of the biggest remedies that they recommended for this vague feeling of not getting enough done, which they called productivity debt, which I thought was really interesting, was actually keeping, this is gonna blow your mind here, you know why it's folded? Not just a to-do list of the things that you have to do, but also, I'll flip it over and on the other side is a done list. And here I'll just write all the stuff that I'm literally crossing off of the other side. And it sounds really simple, but I realized that with my old app system, every time I would get something done, I would check the box and it would just disappear from view. But now that with everything I accomplish, I actually write it down on this list, it's made it way easier to look back at the end of a day or at the end of a week and have a deeper sense of appreciation for all the work that I'm putting in and the process of building this thing. And the best part is nobody has to know that you put responding to email as part of your done list for every single day in the week. It's literally just about what makes you feel more satisfied with what you're getting done. So that's just a little thing that I've definitely been blessed by. So anyways, I'll usually wrap up lunch around 12 o'clock or a little bit after. And at that point, I'll usually spend most of the afternoon on either YouTube related stuff or quick flips related stuff or general admin tasks related to the resale business. For example, yesterday I was revising our condition guidelines for a quick flips update that we're gonna do in a few weeks. Tomorrow afternoon, I have a meeting with the dev team to talk about those updates, but this afternoon, I'm gonna be reviewing a video for Editor Riff.
And while he does that, I'm gonna be reviewing my little notes that I made for myself to do this week.
Now I hear what some of you guys may be saying. Hold on, Caleb, you're reviewing a video for Editor Riff. I thought that he was your editor, and what gives? What is this whole process that you're talking about? And I understand the confusion because I think a lot of people assume that because I have an editor for my YouTube channel that I just give him all of my footage and then I never see the video again until it's uploaded on my channel. And while there are channels that operate that way, I've found that to make the best videos that I know how, I have to be much more involved with a few steps along the way in the editing process. And what that actually looks like is at least once, if not twice for every video, I'll go through and watch the first edited draft that Riff has sent me. And I'll make notes along the way for everything that I think could possibly be better, and then send them to him so that he can make a second, hopefully final draft. Now, this all goes along with my philosophy of making literally everything that I do as optimized as possible, making every YouTube upload 1% better than the last one. And this process used to not be such a big deal. It would take maybe an hour or two when my videos were 12 to 15 minutes long. But now that almost every video I upload is north of 25 minutes, especially with these interview formats, this process going through and making all of these notes will probably take 3 or 4 hours. And even though it's honestly not the most exciting thing in the world, I'm fully convinced that it's essential to not wasting any of the viewers' time and telling the best story I possibly can. Now, for this video in particular, Ryan, the store owner, was super generous, had an awesome time going through his store, but to bring you guys behind the curtain a little bit, the biggest challenge with this edit is Ryan has a really distinct manner of speaking where he has a tendency to like interrupt himself and kind of trail off sometimes, which in conversation you don't really notice, but in an edit, it becomes much more glaring when ideas are unfinished. So what we've had to do to compensate for that on the edit side is just be much more judicious with the cuts that we're making. We started out on this one with like 2.5 hours of raw footage, and I think we're going to end up with like a 42-ish minute video. So at this point, it'll already be out on the channel, so you guys can kind of be the judge and let us know whether or not we did a good job with it. Well, folks, it is now 5:30, and as you can tell, the basement is a good bit darker and more deserted than it was before. The time that we wind down our work will depend a lot on who is scheduled that day. Spencer normally pieces out around 4:30, and then depending on what part-timers we have working, sometimes people will be here later, but in an ideal world at this point in the day, all of our intake and prepping services would be cleared off. But as you can see, sometimes in small business, things don't work out exactly the way that you had hoped, and you get a little bit overwhelmed with stuff. But in the spirit of radical honesty, I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about a way that I've been trying to grow as a leader recently. Because earlier this month, Spencer and I had a conversation where he was basically like, man, I can tell that you have been stressed recently because the energy that you're bringing to the basement has been much more serious and sort of stressed and efficiency minded. And it just got me thinking, man, that is not the impact that I want to have on anybody that I'm around, let alone my teammates. Like, I've got to do something about this. And it forced me to realize that for most of the history, pretty much up until now in my resale business, when things go wrong, I'm the guy that kind of shoulders that, right? I'm the one who's going to pick up the slack. If someone's car breaks down and they can't come to work, then I'll work late. Or if the power goes out and nobody can work, then, I'll pull a weekend and try to make sure we don't fall behind. Or, if the daycare closes and Spencer has to leave early, then I'm the one who's working the extra hours. And what I'm kind of realizing right now is that if I do a good job of delegating and I equip my team well and I pay them well, I don't always have to be the one who is shouldering all that stuff. And it sounds like such a simple realization, but I have to say it's been just really freeing to realize that my team is capable not only of accepting responsibility, but also of accepting genuine ownership of stuff. And what that has amounted to is a plan for 2025 where Spencer is just in charge of all basement operations to the point where I can just come for a couple shifts a week and basically work for him part-time, oversee stuff and help with efficiency where I can, and then just spend the rest of my time working on making better YouTube videos and making quick flips better, which is what I'm best at doing anyway. Now folks, why do I bring all that up? Well, it's essentially a long way of saying that when I come down here at 5:30 and I see all of the half-done activities that we're behind on, I think the old Caleb, the Caleb from a month ago, would look around and frantically start trying to find different activities to get us caught up, right? To keep from falling too far behind. But the new Caleb, the current Caleb, I think might just take off the night a little early.